quietly, Disney has made a change to how they sell tickets to Disneyland guests that has me triggered just a little bit. An update in the Esplanade that shines a light on one way in which I believe Disney is forgetting what made them special and unique in the themed entertainment industry. I'll start with the basics. In the Esplanade, there are 4 banks of ticket booths, 2 on the Harbor Boulevard entrance side and 2 on the downtown Disney side. Each bank has 2 each, so there's 2, 4, 6, 8 total ticket booths. Disney has closed the ticket booths numbers 5 and 6, the two on the left as you approach from downtown Disney. They have closed those ticket booths as of Sunday. You can no longer buy a ticket there. Now we know the ones on the right, those have been closed for a little while. They're closing those ticket booths to make way for portos. They need that space to build that big giant portos. Fine. And they're not, it's not, the fact that they're closing these isn't what's triggering me, by the way, before we can get into it. The fact that they're closing them, that isn't really the thing that's triggering me, because I know that people don't buy tickets the way they used to. They're selling most of their tickets online digitally. But we'll get to that. So they've closed the ones on the right, and now they're closing ones on the left. The ones on the Harbor Boulevard side, they're still there, although it's just the ticket booths on the left as you enter from Harbor via the Toy Story bus or Harbor Boulevard. Those are still there, but those are just for DAS guests. And then those ticket booths on the right, they've been empty for a while. I can't remember the last time you could actually go there to do anything at all. So there's that. But they're closing those 2 ticket booths on the left, no longer selling tickets. Those were the last 2. Those were the last 2 booths where you could actually walk up and say, I would like a ticket to Disneyland, please. And they would say, here you go. That'll be $300. But you could still do that. And I'm going to tell you a story a little bit later that's going to just shine a light on how interesting this is. But I found this out when I was there on a Tuesday to upgrade one of my annual passes to Inspire Key. Now, that's the reason why those banks, the clips I'm showing you now that looks like they're open, they're not. They were just there for guests who wanted to upgrade an annual pass from Enchant to Inspire or something like that. If you want to buy a ticket now, you have to go to the left over there where Lost and Found, it's still there, but they're going to be moving that. If you wanted to go to Lost and Found, to the windows to the right of the restroom, that's also now the same windows, and there's only like 3, I think. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4, maybe, if that. It's not as nearly as well staffed as. There are 8 windows in each of those ticket booths that they have closed. There were 4 on the left and 4 on the right. So when I talk about the math, it's amazing what's happened. There used to be 4 banks, and each of those 4 banks had 2 booths together, 2 booths each. So that was 8 booths total. And each of those 8 booths had 8 windows each, if memory serves. So there were 64 windows at one point for people to buy tickets. 64! Each individual ticket booth had 8, and then they went from 64 to 32, and now they were just then there were 16, and now there are 3. Right? I want to say none, because all those ticket booths are no longer selling tickets, but there are still the 3 or 4 windows that are over there at what was Lost and Found. They're going to move Lost and Found somewhere else. It's still there today, but in short order. The point is that they have narrowed it down so sharply that you can only go to those 3 or 4 windows to get, I'm not sure how many there are exactly. The point isn't that they're not selling tickets like they used to. It's what it means to the guest experience, what it means to a certain subset of guests who go to Disneyland. And there's 2 kinds of guests this is affecting. And if you're watching this show, you're probably one of them, because this show represents a certain kind of guest that is nostalgic and whimsical about the Disneyland aesthetic. And just, we're the guests who just like to show up and walk along rivers of America and get on the Mark Twain. And we're not in a hurry to go ride Space Mountain or anything like that. There's that guest. And then there's also the guests who never go to Disneyland. They have no literal idea on even what the app is. Okay, they don't even know what the app is, let alone how to buy a ticket on that app. They don't know what Magic Keys are. They don't know. I literally was present for a conversation while I'm standing there. It took an hour for me to upgrade that pass, by the way. I was present for many conversations where somebody said, "Hey, I want to buy a ticket." They're like, "Okay, you got to go over there." But it's probably easier, instead of getting in that line which I'm going to tell you what that wait was in a minute. Instead of getting that line over there, it looks kind of long. You could just go on the app and buy a ticket. It's a lot easier. What's the app? Well, let me show you. And they get the app open and they start doing stuff. And, she figures that out. And she asks her, do you want Lightning Lane with your ticket? What's Lightning Lane? And that's the guest that Disney is forgetting. They have lost that guest. They have forgotten about that guest. And the way that you connect with that guest in order to make them feel loved and appreciated and welcome to Disneyland was by having a human there present to hold your hand through whatever part of this process that is confusing to you, which, by the way, is significantly more complicated and non-understandable than it used to be. It used to be, and I don't want to be that, old man shakes his fist at a cloud. I mean, I'm Gen X. I'm not quite a boomer, but we're close. I'm close to boomer. But it used to be, back in my day, you just decided. And I'm not even talking about magic keys and reservations, but you could just decide, you know what, let's go to Disneyland. You talk about the night before, you get in the car, everybody drives down the parking lot, you walk in, you get on the tram, and you walk up to one of those windows, 4 tickets to Disneyland, please, thank you very much, there you go in, and that was it. There was no discussion, there was no, there wasn't any nuance to it. It was very simple. That experience is lost. That experience is gone. Now let me talk about, now at this point, what has happened because they've shrunk those windows down from 64 to 4. I'll just give them credit for that. Take a look at this queue that's at what was the Lost and Found. Those guests are all trying to be, every one of those guests, I think, are trying to buy they just want to buy a ticket. What do you want to guess that queue is? And I asked several guests or several cast members about how long it was taking, and they all said the same thing. An hour to an hour and a half to buy a ticket. These guests, Disney is making these guests wait an hour, hour and a half just to buy a ticket to get in. Now, I don't want to get off on a rant, even though it's too late for that. But imagine these are guests you're trying to capture that don't go to Disney. I know these are not regular guests because regular guests would know you buy your ticket online. You would buy it digitally. They don't. I know it's 2025. It's hard to believe I have the same conversation about mobile order. But there is an absolute subset of guests who just don't want to do that. There are some guests who don't want to have their credit card information in an app, for example. Or they just want to do things the analog way. I am, for example, one of those people who doesn't like to go through drive-thrus. I like to go in and ponder the menu when I go to Taco Bell. I'm going to look at the menu. I'm like, what do I feel like today? Which, by the way, I can't anymore because those menus, they now make you order digitally. But I can't sit there and look at the menu and ponder what I want to get. And I don't want to be I want to take my time and try to figure out what I want to get so I don't get in drive-thru because that holds up the line. You got to be ready. Tangent. You got to be ready when you're going to the drive-thru. You got to know what you want. That's not me. Now, I might be a shrinking demographic, and maybe that's what Disney's seeing as well. But it doesn't matter. I'm still being forgotten. That guest is still being forgotten. They're going to force that guest who is going to have their first experience in a long time going to Disneyland to wait an hour, hour and a half after they're already waiting 30 minutes to park, by the way, going through all that nonsense. They haven't even gotten in the park yet, and they're already worn out and pissed off and felt ignored. Like they're not getting the service that they expect, which, by the way, was Disney's. That was the thing that they used to be known for. Let's take up that conversation that I referenced or teased earlier. The Disney way, right? How they trained their cast in terms of customer service and their approach to the guest experience was legendary. It was legendary. They wrote books about it. I have a literal book. It's not in there. It's in my garage. I have a literal book that says The Disney Way on it. Other companies would study the Disney way and say, I want to do business. I want to train my staff. I want to treat my guests the way Disney does. That is lost. And what that was how they trained their cast members. Cast members would go through a rigorous training, process in order to know exactly the right way to deal with the guests, and it was renowned. They were famous for it, and they still are to some degree, because you go in and have an experience with a cast member in the park, it's going to be the best exchange you're ever going to have. There is only one rival, and as a matter of fact, I think they may have exceeded him. But Disney's better than any other theme park in terms of how guests are treated by their cast members. The only comparison I can make, Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is like the way Disney used to be. I walk into Chick-fil-A and I'm just like, oh, you're so kind. You're so nice. Thank you. I want to just eat nothing but chicken sandwiches all day. That was Disney back in the day. Not so much today. They would train cast members in such a way as to be able to handle any situation with grace and dignity, and help guests feel taken care of. That is gone. That is gone now when it comes to purchasing tickets. A guest who just wants to buy a ticket no longer has that connection with a cast member. That's how you, in a digital age, the way you overcome anxiety and fear and all that and uncertainty is by having a warm face ready to receive you and answer any questions you have. And disregarding even those guests who are, who haven't been to Disneyland for a long time and maybe they don't understand, it's probably a small percentage, I guess, but still big enough to be a problem. But even disregarding that, people do still want, I think it's even becoming more imperative now in this digital age. People want to have a personal connection with somebody who knows who can empathize with them. Like the internet, I had an issue with a digital service, and I tried to call, and I'm sorry, but it made me I just canceled my membership right there. I got so little response and in like just respect and dignity. I got so little of that. It was so terrible that I just canceled. I just said, give me a refund. I'm canceling. I'm done. And I felt really good about that. It was very nice. Because the service was so poor. And it's becoming more imperative today, I think, in this digital age. They've created this monster where the idea of technology and the digital whatever is supposed to make everything easier, which we've had this conversation. It's made everything probably a bigger, more complicated mess. Mobile order, Lightning Lane, tickets buying digitally, all that stuff. Every single day now, I see these experiences where, just like I talked about a minute ago, where the guest who's like, what's the app? What's Lightning Lane? How do I just want to buy a ticket. Can I just buy a ticket? I went into the park. What's Lightning Lane? How do I get the Fast Pass? Or like, I don't even know what I'm talking about. There are guests like this still, and Disney has forgotten them. They have just played, and it's not even getting better. It's getting worse. They're shrinking more and more. They know they have a problem with the digital tickets. Anyway, it doesn't work as well as it should. There's so incredibly, if I have a magic key, if I have an enchant key, and I want to upgrade it, and this is as of just a week ago, if I want to upgrade it, I can't upgrade it on the app. I can't upgrade it on the website. The only way that you can, and it literally says this, that tells you, I asked support. They tell you the only way that you can upgrade an annual pass is going to the park, going to a ticket booth, and saying, I want to upgrade. And I even asked in that exchange that I had, because I just wanted to confirm, like, well, the ticket booths are closed. No, they're open for that. But otherwise, no, you can't. So Disney has said, okay, we're going to try to put the upgrade option in the app. Sort of. It's there, but on the day that I was doing this, it doesn't actually do it in the app. It just redirects you to the website, to the Disneyland website, and then from there, you are supposed to upgrade, but it was broke. It was down all day. So anybody who was trying to upgrade, I think I don't know if it, you know what, let's see. I'm going to find out actually right now as we record this. So there is an icon to upgrade the magic key, but that redirects you out of the app and into the website, the Disneyland website, and then down for maintenance. So it's still not working. What do? You got to get in your car. So this is the last remaining thing where they're going to force you to go to the park, and then you have to, and it took me an hour When I did this, it took me an hour because they didn't have enough staff and there was a lot of people there. I waited and waited and waited. I wound up making a lot of friends and we had a good time about it. You know, the other guests there in queue, you know, we have a communal experience. And that's what I'm talking about, is just the experience. Like, we had a communal experience because we were there as humans. We were there as humans having a shared experience. And I was sharing that experience, not just with guests. We were all like, what time did you get in the queue? I got in the queue at 8:45. What time did you get in? Oh, 8:31. And you're still waiting? Oh my gosh. Because it's a virtual queue. Anyway, I digress. There's a communal experience happening with the guests, and there's also a communal experience happening with the cast members. There are 3 or 4 cast members on site just out there handling questions and it was actually great. I made 2 new friends that day, 3 new friends that day, cast member friends. I made 3 friends that day. I can't tell you how important that is to me as a guest, even somebody who goes to the park 3 times a week, sometimes 4, even as that guest, how important it is to me that I have the ability to have that kind of relationship and be able to have kind cast members there taking care of guests who have questions. And they're trying to replace that with a bot. And they're losing. And we want this. We want to be able to have communication with a live human who cares about us. I'm hoping that they have some sort of solution that is beyond, I don't know either find a way to reach out to the modern guest on how to use the app, for one thing, because it's a total mystery. And I don't feel like there is. The website exists. The app exists, but I don't feel like there's any sort of effort on Disney's part to advise people that it even exists, how to use it. I mean, you kind of see it when I don't know, how do you push that attention to them? I just don't know, but I feel like Disney needs to do more. That's why, you know, people like me even exist in this sense, because, and I hear this all the time, thank you so much, because I set the like I talked to a cast member that day, she says, thank God you are here. Thank God you make these videos on how to use Lightning Lane and how to do this and how to do that, because they're not getting it from Disney. And it's all about just at minimum setting the expectation, letting people know what they should expect from whatever the service is. But, you know, people just open the web and they don't know. And they may never. There's always going to be that group of guests who just don't understand it. And those guests are gone. They're lost. The kids are growing up today. They know how to use, that stuff pretty well. But there's still going to be a set of those guests who don't. But are they reaching those guests? I don't even want to get down that path. I don't want to get down that tangent about whether or not Disney's reaching young kids, teenagers, and 10-year-olds or whatever. Are they reaching those guests today? Because on the one hand, it feels like they're leaning on the nostalgia and they're leaning on the guests who have, history and who are we're going to come back no matter how much it costs and no matter how much we go through. We're never going to stop going to Disneyland. They've captured me. I'm good, but I'm going to die someday. Disney. I'm going to die someday. What are you doing to recruit, my daughter or somebody else's kids? What are you doing? What are you doing to grow new guests? How are you trying to reach them? Because if you're using digital, you're not doing it very well, I don't think, because there's no reach, there's no outreach on Disney's part. They make it very complicated and very difficult. And let me just summarize this conversation, by the way, as to clarify that this is not an attack on Disney. I opened this by saying there's just this one way that I'm seeing today where they're missing, because Disney hits on a lot of other places. They hit on a lot of they're still doing a lot of things right. I really love what they're doing in a lot of ways, and I still love going to Disneyland. And this is not a hit piece in any way. I just want them to remember that guest. I want them to remember what it means to provide good customer service and be present for somebody, to give them a connection, to give them understanding, empathy. People crave that. They're not getting it. It's a lost art today. It's a lost art. All of this started because they closed the ticket booth. I'm going to check in on this. I want to see how this is going. I want to see I don't know what they're going to do with those left booths. They're just downsizing. They're empty, just like the other booths on the other booth on the harbor side to the right. That's just downsized. It's empty. It's sitting vacant. They're still there, like a people mover track. It's still there. Guys, remember, I just yearn. I really do yearn for that experience of walking up to a booth and buying a ticket. I used to do that. I was alive for that. I was around for when that happened. I was there. And it's just not there anymore. You know what else I miss? I miss going to Blockbuster. I miss buying a ticket at the window for the movies. We used to walk up and there was a person there. I would like to see, Star Wars, the 2:30 Star Wars. And that was part of the experience. Tell me you don't miss that. I mean, I really like, by the way, I don't mind going on my app, on the AMC app, and picking my seat. I think that's great. I don't have to worry about if there's going to be a seat waiting for me. But then that was also part of the excitement and the mystery of if you were going to be able to get a seat. I wonder, is it sold out? How close are they? We got to get there early. I want to save my seat. We got to watch, I miss those days. Again, I'm probably just old boomer, not a boomer, just old man shaking his fist at the cloud. But I wonder if, do the younger people even know what they're missing? Do other Gen Xers and boomers, miss those experiences? Do the millennials and the Gen Zs, do they wish that they could do you even know what a Blockbuster is? I can't wait. Okay, we're going to follow up on this. We're going to see how this story unfolds and see if there's any sort of thing. And in the meantime, we're going to make videos that teach you guys how to use the app and how to buy tickets and all that other stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. FreshBaked.